Jake Thompson worked as a janitor on the starship Ventura. Most people thought his job was simple. He cleaned floors, emptied trash, and fixed small problems. But Jake had a secret life, one that made every day different. He was not just a janitor. He was a teacher to two special children, Leora and Kael, the alien queen's twins. They were deaf and could not hear sounds like other aliens. Because of this, the twins were kept separate from others and often felt lonely. Jake had found them one day by accident in a quiet corner of the ship. He saw how sad they were and decided he could help. Every evening, when most of the crew was asleep or busy, Jake went to a hidden classroom he had set up in an empty storage room. It was small but cozy. There were old books, scraps of paper, colored pencils, and a few toys. The twins loved to draw and make signs to communicate. Jake had learned their gestures quickly and could understand them better than anyone else. He taught them human sign language, and soon they could communicate with words and sentences using hands and faces. Jake's first lesson was always simple. He showed them colors, shapes, and numbers. The twins were eager to learn. Leora pointed to a red pencil and then signed the word red slowly. Kael copied her movements, smiling proudly. Jake laughed quietly and signed back. Good job, Kael. Each small success made the children happy and confident. They felt they could express themselves and understand the world better. Jake felt proud. He had never imagined he could make such a difference in someone's life. The twins loved stories. Jake told them tales from Earth, stories about humans, animals, and heroes. Leora's eyes grew wide when Jake described mountains and forests she had never seen. Kael liked stories about brave warriors and explorers. They would sign back questions, eager to know more. Jake explained the world outside their ship, the sun, rain, and seasons. The twins had never experienced these things, but through his words and signs they could imagine them. Jake wanted them to feel they were part of something bigger, something beyond their small world. While teaching, Jake always worried about being caught. Humans were not allowed near the royal family, and the twins were highly protected. If anyone found out, he could lose his job or worse. He avoided guards and staff, sneaking through empty corridors to reach the hidden classroom. He had to be quiet and careful, but the joy of teaching Leora and Kael made all the risk worth it. He felt alive, needed, and important in a way he never had before. Over weeks, the twins learned quickly. They could sign simple sentences and express feelings. Leora loved to describe what she imagined, while Kael asked questions about humans and their lives. Jake explained things about friendship, courage, and kindness. The twins began to understand emotions more clearly. They signed words like happy, sad, and excited, learning to communicate their inner world. Jake was amazed at their growth. The twins were smart, curious, and full of life. He felt lucky to be part of their world. One day, Jake taught them numbers and counting. He drew simple shapes and wrote numbers on paper. Leora and Kael copied him, tracing shapes with pencils. They counted objects aloud in their way, using gestures. Jake clapped and signed, "Excellent." They beamed with pride. Teaching them was more than work. It was joy. Each lesson felt like an adventure. The twins learned faster than he expected. Their faces glowed with excitement every time they mastered something new. Jake also taught the twins about human emotions and expressions. He made faces showing happiness, sadness, anger, and surprise. Leora and Kael copied his expressions and laughed at the funny faces. They learned to recognize feelings in others, which helped them communicate better. Jake used stories to explain why people acted in certain ways. The twins began to understand human behavior and even started to teach him some of their own alien expressions. It became a fun game where they learned from each other. The twins loved drawing. Jake encouraged them to draw what they imagined. They sketched landscapes, animals, and even humans. Sometimes Jake would draw alongside them, showing how to create pictures step by step. The twins learned to mix colors and shapes to tell stories visually. Jake used these drawings to teach lessons about life, friendship, and courage. The twins listened closely and their art became a language of its own. Jake felt proud when he saw how creative and expressive they were. Despite all the joy, Jake always felt a little fear. He knew the alien queen Arya was strict and protective. If she found him with her children, she might be angry. He thought about it often and tried to prepare for that moment. But every evening, the excitement of teaching won over the fear. He believed that helping the twins was more important than the risk. He had become their friend, teacher, and guide. Leora and Kael trusted him completely, and that trust was precious. The twins had routines. They loved learning after the ship's lights dimmed. Jake would bring books, drawings, and games to keep them interested. Leora liked numbers and Kale liked stories about adventure. They learned about humans, Earth, and the stars. Jake even taught them about space travel, explaining planets and galaxies. The twins were fascinated. They signed rapidly, asking questions about things they had never seen. Jake answered patiently, making sure they understood. Each lesson lasted for hours, but the twins never seemed tired. One evening, Jake decided to teach them something special. He showed them human history in simple terms. He drew figures representing explorers, inventors, and leaders. Leora and Kale followed every line carefully, signing questions about who these people were. Jake explained in gestures and drawings, telling stories of courage and determination. The twins listened attentively, learning about bravery and knowledge. Jake could see their minds working, imagining themselves as part of these stories. He smiled quietly, happy to guide them on this journey of learning. The twins began to communicate with more confidence. They asked about words, colors, and numbers. Jake used signs, drawings, and objects to teach them. Leora often pointed to things and signed words while Kale repeated them eagerly. Their vocabulary grew quickly. Jake was amazed at their progress. The twins were not just learning. They were thriving. Their minds were opening to new ideas, and their expressions showed joy, curiosity, and understanding. Every evening after lessons, Jake cleaned up the classroom. He arranged papers, pencils, and books neatly. The twins would wave goodbye with smiles, signing, "See you tomorrow." Jake felt a warm feeling inside. He was not just a janitor. He was a part of their lives. He had become someone important, someone they trusted and admired. This small room hidden in the ship had become a place of growth, learning, and friendship. It was a secret world where anything was possible. Jake also noticed the twins growing closer to each other. They had always been shy, but under his guidance they became more confident. They signed to each other, shared drawings, and played games. Jake encouraged teamwork and sharing. Leora and Kale learned to help each other and celebrate each other's successes. Jake felt proud of their development. They were not just learning. They were forming strong bonds of friendship and love. His presence had helped them open their hearts. Sometimes Jake imagined what would happen if the alien queen discovered his lessons. He pictured her walking in, looking stern and demanding. But he also imagined her smiling, seeing the joy in her children. Jake hoped that one day she would understand that he was helping, not harming. Until then, he remained cautious, always careful, but never letting fear stop him. Teaching the twins was his mission, and he would protect it with all his heart. Jake had never been a teacher before, but he found joy in it. He learned from the twins as much as they learned from him. Their curiosity inspired him, and their smiles motivated him. Each lesson was an adventure, each moment a treasure. The hidden classroom became a place of discovery, laughter, and growth. Jake realized that even a janitor could make a difference, and sometimes the smallest actions could change lives forever. As the twins mastered new skills, they began to dream bigger. Leora wanted to draw maps of planets, and Kale wanted to tell stories of brave humans and aliens working together. Jake encouraged their dreams, showing them that imagination and learning had no limits. The twins signed excitedly, sharing their ideas. Jake responded with gestures, nods, and drawings, helping them plan and imagine new worlds. Their minds were expanding, and Jake felt proud to be part of their journey. Every night ended the same way. The twins hugged Jake, signing "Thank you" and "Good night." Jake smiled and signed back, "See you tomorrow." He cleaned the room quietly, preparing for the next lesson. He knew that the secret was safe for now, but the thought of discovery always lingered. Yet the happiness of the twins made everything worth it. He had found a purpose beyond cleaning floors. He had found friendship, trust, and love in the most unexpected place. Jake Thompson, the human janitor, had become a secret teacher, a friend, and a guide for the deaf alien twins. In the quiet corners of the starship Ventara, they learned, laughed, and grew together. The hidden classroom was a world of its own, a place where learning had no limits and where a human and two alien children found a connection that went beyond words. Here, Jake found meaning, and the twins found their voices. Each day, each lesson was a new beginning, full of hope, curiosity, and joy. The twins had learned so much from Jake, and their confidence was growing day by day. Leora and Kale were no longer shy or quiet. They eagerly waited for Jake's lessons, ready to explore new ideas. Jake brought stories about humans, animals, and adventures from Earth, and the twins listened with excitement, signing questions rapidly and laughing as they learned. They loved learning new signs, numbers, and stories. Each night, Jake noticed their understanding expanding. Their minds were sharp and their curiosity was endless. One evening, Jake decided to teach them about teamwork. He drew simple exercises on paper, showing how working together could solve problems faster. The twins signed excitedly, copying his gestures and practicing together. Jake encouraged them, praising their cooperation. Leora and Kyle learned to help each other, offering ideas and suggestions. Jake smiled quietly, seeing their growth. Teaching them about collaboration was important because it would help them in life, both among humans and aliens. Jake also introduced them to human games. He explained simple rules and showed how to play with dice, cards, and small tokens. The twins loved the games, laughing and cheering silently, enjoying every moment. These games taught strategy, patience, and problem-solving. Leora quickly picked up the rules while Kale experimented with different strategies, surprising Jake with his cleverness. They began to understand not just language and numbers, but thinking skills as well. Every game session became a lesson in itself. The twins were also curious about the stars. Jake explained the planets, the sun, and the moon. He drew simple diagrams showing orbits and distances. Leora and Kale signed rapidly, asking questions about worlds they had never seen. Jake used gestures and drawings to explain space travel, showing how humans explored and studied planets. The twins' eyes sparkled with wonder. They imagined themselves visiting distant worlds, traveling among stars and discovering new places. Jake encouraged their imagination, reminding them that learning could take them anywhere, even beyond the ship. Sometimes Jake taught them about human emotions. He made faces showing happiness, sadness, anger, and surprise. The twins copied him, learning to recognize feelings in others. Jake used stories to show why people acted in certain ways. Leora and Kale began to understand human behavior more clearly. They even started to teach Jake some of their own alien expressions, and he learned from them. The lessons became a two-way learning experience. Jake realized that teaching was not just about giving knowledge. It was about sharing, understanding, and connecting. One day, Jake wanted to teach them about history. He drew simple pictures of explorers, inventors, and heroes from Earth. Leora and Kale followed his drawings closely, signing questions about each figure. Jake explained who they were and why they were important. The twins were fascinated by stories of courage and creativity. They began to understand that history was full of lessons and inspiration. Jake smiled, proud of their attention and enthusiasm. The twins were absorbing knowledge quickly, becoming more aware of the world beyond the ship. The twins' curiosity also extended to human culture. Jake taught them about music, art, and literature. He showed them simple songs, rhythms, and instruments. Leora loved to follow beats, while Kale enjoyed making patterns and creating sounds. Jake encouraged them to express themselves through music, teaching simple songs and rhythms they could follow. They laughed silently as they tried to clap, tap, and sign along with the music. These activities helped them feel more connected and expressive even without hearing. As the lessons continued, Jake noticed the twins growing more independent. They could now communicate ideas without his help, using signs, gestures, and drawings. Leora started telling small stories using pictures, and Kale explained his thoughts through gestures. Jake watched with pride, realizing that his efforts were helping them develop confidence and creativity. The twins were learning not only language but also self-expression and critical thinking. Their growth amazed him, and he felt honored to be part of it. One night, as Jake was teaching them about different planets, the twins were particularly excited. Leora drew a large circle representing the sun, while Kyle made smaller circles for planets. They signed rapidly, asking questions about distance, temperature, and life on other worlds. Jake explained patiently, showing how humans studied planets and stars. The twins' eyes glowed with curiosity. They imagined exploring new planets, meeting different beings, and learning everything they could. Jake encouraged their dreams, reminding them that imagination and knowledge were powerful tools. The twins were also curious about human behavior. Jake taught them simple concepts like kindness, honesty, and courage. He used stories and gestures to explain why people acted in certain ways. Leora and Kale signed questions wanting to understand human decisions and emotions. Jake explained patiently, showing examples from daily life. The twins began to apply these lessons to their own interactions. They learned to share, help each other, and think before acting. Jake felt proud of their progress and dedication. One day, Jake decided to introduce a new type of lesson: problem solving. He presented small challenges like puzzles and simple tasks, and encouraged the twins to work together. Leora and Kale signed rapidly, discussing strategies and solutions. They learned to analyze, plan, and execute ideas effectively. Jake guided them, praising their efforts and creativity. These exercises helped them think critically, solve problems efficiently, and build confidence in their abilities. Each challenge became an opportunity for growth and learning. The twins also enjoyed learning about human tools and technology. Jake showed them simple gadgets, explaining their purpose and function. Leora was fascinated by writing tools while Kale enjoyed mechanical objects. Jake demonstrated how humans created and used these tools to make life easier. The twins observed closely, asking questions and trying simple experiments. Jake encouraged hands-on learning, helping them understand the importance of creativity, invention, and exploration. Their curiosity knew no bounds. While teaching, Jake also observed the twins' personalities. Leora was thoughtful, careful, and detail-oriented. Kyle was adventurous, curious, and bold. Jake used these traits to tailor his lessons, ensuring each child learned in a way that suited them best. Leora thrived on observation and repetition, while Kale excelled in experimentation and exploration. Jake balanced their learning, making sure both children felt confident and motivated. This personalized approach helped the twins grow emotionally, mentally, and socially. Despite the progress, Jake remained cautious. He knew the alien queen, Arya, could discover his lessons at any moment. He always thought about what he would say if she walked in. But every evening, the joy of teaching outweighed the fear. Leora and Kale's smiles, curiosity, and laughter were worth any risk. He had become more than a janitor. He was a mentor, a friend, and a guide. The hidden classroom was their safe place, where learning, imagination, and trust flourished. Jake also noticed the twins helping each other outside lessons. They signed and communicated, sharing ideas and solving small problems together. Their bond grew stronger. Jake encouraged teamwork, reminding them that helping each other made challenges easier and more enjoyable. Leora and Kale began to understand the value of collaboration. They laughed silently as they worked together, signing ideas and cheering each other on. These moments were as valuable as the lessons themselves. Sometimes Jake imagined the day Queen Arya might find out. He pictured her walking in, her face serious and demanding. But he also imagined her smiling, seeing her children happy and learning. Jake hoped she would understand that his intentions were pure, and that the twins were thriving because of his guidance. Until that moment, he remained cautious, hiding lessons and sneaking through corridors. Yet he never let fear stop him. Teaching Leora and Kale had become his mission and his joy. Over time, the twins began to express themselves more clearly. They used signs, drawings, and gestures to communicate thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Jake encouraged creativity, storytelling, and exploration. Leora and Kale's confidence grew, and their imagination expanded. They started to think about the future, asking questions about humans, aliens, and the world beyond the ship. Jake guided them patiently, explaining concepts simply and clearly. Their growth amazed him, showing how much potential they had. The twins loved learning about human culture. Jake explained traditions, holidays, and simple customs. Leora was fascinated by celebrations, while Kale enjoyed stories about heroes and adventures. They asked questions eagerly, signing and drawing to express curiosity. Jake encouraged them, showing how humans shared experiences, built communities, and valued friendship. The twins began to see the connection between knowledge, culture, and human behavior. Jake felt proud of their understanding and their desire to learn more. Every evening, the lessons ended with the twins expressing gratitude. They signed thank you and good night, hugging Jake softly. He smiled, feeling warmth and happiness. Cleaning up the classroom, he thought about their growth and progress. The secret lessons had become a part of his life. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a mentor, a friend, and a part of the twins' world. Each lesson, each smile, and each question was a step toward understanding, growth, and connection. Jake Thompson's lessons with the twins continued every evening. Leora and Kale were growing smarter and more confident. They had learned many human words, stories, and games. They could communicate clearly, signing sentences and sharing ideas. Their curiosity was endless. They asked Jake questions about humans, Earth, stars, and life in general. Jake enjoyed answering them and showing them new things. Each lesson became more exciting as the twins discovered new ideas and explored their imagination. One quiet evening, as Jake was explaining a story about brave explorers from Earth, he noticed shadows moving near the doorway. He froze. Leora and Kale also looked up, their eyes wide. The door opened slowly and in walked Queen Arya, the twins' mother. She was majestic, her presence powerful and commanding. She had always been protective of her children and had forbidden humans to come near them. Jake's heart raced. He had never been caught before. He worried about what she would think. Queen Arya's eyes focused on the twins. They rushed to her, signing rapidly to explain the lesson. The twins were excited, showing her what they had learned. Arya watched carefully, her face unreadable. Jake stood quietly, unsure of what to do. He had always feared this moment, but the children's happiness was clear. They were engaged, learning and expressing themselves. Arya's curiosity grew as she observed. She had never seen her children so joyful and confident. Leora signed, pointing to the drawings on the floor, explaining what they represented. Kale showed her the signs he had learned from Jake. Arya's eyes softened slightly as she watched them. Jake began to explain in gestures and signs how he taught the twins using drawings and games. Arya listened carefully, trying to understand. She asked questions in her alien language and Jake responded patiently. He showed her the methods he used to help the twins communicate and learn. Arya remained silent but attentive, clearly considering his words and actions. The twins continued to sign, showing how much they had learned. Leora demonstrated counting and colors while Kale shared a small story he had created. Arya's expression slowly changed. She looked at Jake, then at her children. She realized that the human had been patient, kind, and respectful. He had not harmed them. Instead, he had given them knowledge, confidence, and joy. Arya began to see Jake in a new light. She had expected fear, punishment, or disrespect. Instead, she saw care, dedication, and understanding. Jake explained that he never intended any harm. He only wanted to help the twins communicate and understand the world. Arya listened quietly, observing the children's reactions. The twins signed rapidly, showing that they trusted Jake and appreciated his help. Arya realized that Jake had created a safe, joyful space for them to learn. She could see the impact he had made on their lives. Slowly, her stern demeanor softened. She was impressed by Jake's dedication and the bond he had formed with the twins. Arya asked Jake more questions. She wanted to know how he taught, what he taught, and why he had done it in secret. Jake explained everything, showing how the twins had progressed. He described their curiosity, their imagination, and their eagerness to learn. Arya listened carefully, nodding occasionally. She asked about the methods he used to communicate, how he encouraged the twins, and how he inspired them to explore new ideas. Jake answered patiently, showing her drawings and gestures. The twins continued to demonstrate their skills. Leora showed a picture of the planets and explained their order. Kale signed a story about a brave explorer. Arya's eyes widened as she watched. She realized that her children had learned more than she had expected. They were confident, creative, and expressive. She understood that Jake's secret lessons had helped them grow in ways she could not have imagined. Arya's respect for Jake grew with every passing moment. Jake also explained that he had taught the twins about human emotions, culture, and history. He showed them how humans celebrated, helped each other, and faced challenges. Leora and Kale signed questions and shared their thoughts, eager to understand more. Arya observed silently, noticing the joy and curiosity in her children's faces. She began to appreciate the value of human knowledge and perspective. The twins had flourished under Jake's guidance, and Arya could see the positive effects clearly. Arya asked the twins what they thought about Jake's lessons. Leora signed that she loved learning and felt happy with Jake. Kale signed that he enjoyed stories and games and wanted to learn more. Arya looked at Jake and saw that he had created a world where her children could grow, explore, and feel confident. She realized that his guidance had made a difference she could not ignore. Jake felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. He had feared Arya's reaction, but she seemed thoughtful rather than angry. He hoped she would allow him to continue teaching. Arya considered the situation carefully. She could see that Jake had formed a genuine bond with her children. He had earned their trust and they had learned greatly from him. Slowly, Arya smiled slightly. an unusual expression for the Queen. She nodded to Jake, signaling that he could continue, but under her supervision. The twins were thrilled. They signed excitedly, showing their happiness at being able to continue learning. Jake breathed a sigh of relief. He could continue teaching now with the knowledge that the Queen approved. The hidden classroom would remain a place of learning, exploration, and joy, but now with Arya's awareness. This was a turning point. The fear of being caught had transformed into a sense of trust and collaboration. Jake's role as a mentor and friend was acknowledged by the most important person on the ship. Over the next few weeks, Jake's lessons became more structured. Arya sometimes joined, observing and participating. She learned simple signs, followed the stories, and watched the twins' progress. Leora and Kale were excited to have their mother involved. The learning environment became even more engaging. Jake introduced new topics, games, and activities, ensuring that the twins' curiosity remained high. Arya's presence did not intimidate them. Instead, it encouraged them to excel and explore further. Jake also taught the twins about problem-solving and critical thinking. He presented small challenges and encouraged them to find solutions. Leora and Kale worked together, using their knowledge, imagination, and creativity. Arya watched their interactions, impressed by their teamwork and ingenuity. She realized that the lessons were more than just language and games. They were shaping the twins' minds, teaching them to think, create, and understand the world around them. The twins continued to grow in confidence. They could now express complex ideas using signs, drawings, and gestures. Leora enjoyed storytelling, while Kale liked experimenting and exploring concepts. Jake encouraged their individual strengths while helping them improve in areas that needed attention. Arya observed quietly, noting the progress her children were making. She began to appreciate Jake's dedication and the positive influence he had on their development. One evening, Arya asked Jake to teach her as well. She wanted to understand the methods he used and the knowledge he shared. Jake agreed, showing her the signs, gestures, and drawings. Arya learned quickly, understanding the process and appreciating the children's progress. This shared learning experience strengthened the bond between Jake, the twins, and their mother. It became a unique collaboration where knowledge, trust, and respect flowed between all three. The twins began to enjoy showing their mother what they had learned. Leora presented drawings of planets and stars, while Kale shared stories about humans and explorers. Arya was impressed by their creativity, intelligence, and curiosity. She realized that Jake's guidance had opened doors for her children that she could not have imagined. The twins' growth was evident, and Arya felt a mixture of pride and gratitude toward the human who had made it possible. Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. He had feared the Queen's reaction, but now he had earned her respect. The twins were thriving, and their learning environment was secure. Each lesson became a new adventure, full of excitement, curiosity, and discovery. Jake had found a purpose beyond his duties as a janitor. He had become a mentor, a guide, and a friend, shaping the lives of two extraordinary children. As the lessons continued, the bond between Jake, Leora, Kyle, and Arya grew stronger. Trust, respect, and understanding flowed freely. The hidden classroom had transformed from a secret space into a shared place of learning and growth. Jake realized that teaching was more than sharing knowledge. It was about building connections, fostering curiosity, and inspiring confidence. Each evening brought new lessons, laughter, and discovery, strengthening the relationships and enriching their lives. The twins continued to explore new ideas, share stories, and practice signs. Jake guided them patiently, encouraging creativity and curiosity. Arya observed, occasionally joining in, learning alongside the twins. This collaboration created a harmonious environment where knowledge, imagination, and trust flourished. The hidden classroom had become a place where humans and aliens could learn from each other, grow together, and build lasting bonds. Jake Thompson, once a simple janitor, had become a teacher, mentor, and friend. His lessons had opened new worlds for Leora and Kale, and even for Queen Arya. Knowledge, curiosity, and trust had created a connection that transcended species. Each evening brought new discoveries, excitement, and growth. The hidden classroom had become... Jake Thompson had grown comfortable in his secret role as teacher to the alien twins, Leora and Kale. Every evening he prepared lessons and materials to make learning fun and exciting. He wanted to give them the best understanding of human knowledge and culture, while also nurturing their creativity and confidence. Each lesson built on the last, helping them grow intellectually and emotionally. The twins eagerly awaited his arrival each night, their eyes bright with curiosity. This evening, Jake decided to focus on teamwork and problem-solving. He set up a small challenge using blocks, shapes, and simple puzzles. Leora and Kale signed questions rapidly, eager to begin. Jake guided them through the task, showing how to work together, share ideas, and find solutions. Leora carefully examined the blocks while Kale tried different combinations quickly. They learned from each other, adjusting their strategies and cooperating in perfect harmony. Jake watched with pride, amazed at how well the twins worked as a team. The twins had begun to teach Jake as well. They signed new gestures they had learned or created, showing him how they could express emotions, ideas, and creativity. Jake tried to mimic the gestures, laughing when he got them wrong and praising himself when he succeeded. Leora and Kale giggled silently, enjoying the learning exchange. Jake realized that teaching was not just about instructing. It was about sharing, learning, and understanding. Each night brought new experiences and discoveries. Jake also wanted the twins to learn about human emotions. He made faces showing happiness, sadness, surprise, and curiosity. Leora and Kale copied the expressions, signing questions about why people felt certain ways. Jake explained with gestures, drawings, and small stories. The twins began to understand empathy, kindness, and patience. They learned that understanding emotions was important in communicating with others. They applied these lessons in their interactions, helping each other and practicing patience during lessons. Jake felt proud of their progress. The twins were curious about the world beyond the ship. Jake drew simple maps showing planets, stars, and oceans. Leora was fascinated by the colors of Earth's landscapes, while Kale was excited about mountains, rivers, and deserts. Jake explained how humans explored and discovered new lands. The twins signed questions rapidly, asking how humans traveled and what they discovered. Jake patiently answered, using drawings and gestures to illustrate his points. The twins' imagination soared, picturing themselves exploring new worlds and meeting different creatures. One day, Jake wanted to teach them about human history. He drew simple figures representing explorers, inventors, and leaders. Leora and Kale followed his drawings closely, asking questions about each figure. Jake explained who they were and why they were important. The twins were fascinated by stories of courage, creativity, and determination. They began to understand that history held lessons and inspiration. Jake smiled, proud of their attention and eagerness. The twins were absorbing knowledge quickly, developing not only language skills but also an understanding of values, bravery, and ideas. Jake introduced the twins to human games and activities. He explained rules, demonstrated play, and encouraged creativity. Leora loved drawing patterns, while Kale enjoyed building structures and experimenting with different strategies. Jake observed their interactions, helping them improve problem-solving and critical thinking. The games became a teaching tool, showing teamwork, planning, and strategy. Leora and Kale laughed silently as they played, learning through trial and error. Jake was pleased to see how much fun they were having while learning important skills. Queen Arya occasionally joined the lessons, observing quietly. She was fascinated by the interaction between Jake and her children. Leora and Kyle eagerly showed their mother what they had learned. Arya's stern expression softened as she watched their joy and progress. She realized that Jake's guidance had opened new doors for her children, helping them communicate, explore, and think critically. Arya was impressed by his patience, dedication, and creativity. She saw how much her children trusted and respected him. The twins were learning not only about humans but also about themselves. Jake encouraged them to explore their interests and talents. Leora enjoyed art and storytelling, while Kale was drawn to problem-solving and exploration. Jake tailored lessons to nurture these strengths, helping each child grow. The twins began to express themselves more clearly, using signs, drawings, and gestures. They shared ideas, created stories, and solved challenges. Jake felt proud, seeing how confident and independent they had become. Jake also taught the twins about communication beyond words. He showed them how gestures, facial expressions, and body language could convey meaning. Leora and Kale practiced using signs, drawings, and expressions to tell stories and share ideas. Jake encouraged creativity, reminding them that communication was not limited to words alone. The twins embraced the lessons, exploring different ways to express themselves. Their confidence in sharing ideas grew, and they became more comfortable interacting with each other and with Jake. One evening, Jake decided to introduce the twins to human culture through music. He showed them simple rhythms, songs, and patterns. Leora followed the beat, tapping her fingers and signing along. Kale experimented with patterns and sounds, creating new variations. Jake encouraged them, praising their creativity and effort. The twins laughed silently, enjoying the music and discovering new ways to express themselves. Music became another way for them to communicate, explore emotions, and strengthen their bond with Jake. The twins also learned about nature and the environment. Jake explained plants, animals, and ecosystems using drawings and gestures. Leora was fascinated by trees, flowers, and animals, while Kale enjoyed learning about mountains, rivers, and oceans. Jake encouraged them to ask questions and explore ideas. The twins signed rapidly, eager to know more. Jake answered patiently, helping them understand the world beyond the ship. The lessons expanded their knowledge, imagination, and appreciation for life. The hidden classroom became a sanctuary of learning and growth. Leora and Kale thrived under Jake's guidance. They developed skills in language, problem-solving, creativity, and communication. They grew confident, expressive, and independent. Queen Arya continued to observe, impressed by their progress. She saw how much Jake had influenced their development and began to trust him completely. The lessons had become more than just learning. They were building a foundation of knowledge, confidence, and trust. Jake also focused on teaching the twins about empathy and understanding. He used small stories to explain how actions affect others, showing the importance of kindness, patience, and respect. Leora and Kale signed questions and examples, discussing how they could apply these lessons. Jake encouraged them to think critically and act thoughtfully. The twins learned to recognize emotions, consider perspectives, and respond appropriately. Jake was pleased to see them applying these skills in their daily interactions, building their emotional intelligence. The twins began to create their own lessons as well. Leora drew pictures and signs to explain ideas, while Kale developed small challenges and stories. Jake participated, guiding them and providing feedback. This collaborative approach strengthened their learning, creativity, and confidence. The twins felt empowered, knowing that they could contribute and lead. Jake was proud, seeing them take initiative and apply their knowledge in meaningful ways. One evening, Arya asked Jake to demonstrate how he taught the twins. He showed her gestures, signs, and drawings explaining each step. Arya followed carefully, learning alongside her children. The shared experience created a sense of unity and collaboration. Arya appreciated Jake's dedication, patience, and creativity. She realized that his guidance had transformed her children, helping them grow emotionally, intellectually, and socially. The lessons had become a shared journey of learning, trust, and understanding. The twins continued to thrive under Jake's guidance. They explored new ideas, practiced skills, and shared knowledge with each other. Leora developed storytelling abilities while Kale excelled in problem-solving. Jake encouraged their strengths, helping them grow in areas that needed attention. Queen Arya observed silently, recognizing the positive impact Jake had on her children. She saw the joy, curiosity, and confidence in their eyes and understood the value of his lessons. As the evenings passed, the bond between Jake, Leora, Kale, and Arya grew stronger. Trust, respect, and understanding became the foundation of their relationship. The hidden classroom was a place of learning, growth, and discovery. Jake had transformed from a simple janitor into a mentor, guide, and friend. His lessons had opened new worlds for the twins and even for Queen Arya. Knowledge, curiosity, and trust had created a connection that transcended species. Each night brought new adventures, learning, and joy, strengthening their bonds and enriching their lives. Jake Thompson knew that the final stage of the twins' lessons would be the most important. Leora and Kale had learned so much. They could communicate clearly, understand complex ideas, and express themselves creatively. Jake wanted to guide them to independence, ensuring they could continue learning and exploring on their own. The lessons had prepared them not only in language and knowledge but also in critical thinking, problem-solving, and emotional understanding. This evening, Jake focused on creativity and storytelling. He asked the twins to create a story together using drawings, signs, and gestures. Leora immediately began sketching characters and scenes while Kale developed a plot and ideas for adventures. They signed rapidly, communicating and collaborating without hesitation. Jake guided them gently, showing how to connect ideas, create suspense, and express emotions. The twins worked together smoothly, demonstrating how much they had learned and how confident they had become. The twins laughed silently as they acted out parts of the story. Leora showed emotions with expressive gestures and faces, while Kale added action and movement. Jake encouraged them, praising creativity and teamwork. Queen Arya watched quietly, her expression softening. She realized how much Jake had helped the twins grow. They were confident, imaginative, and independent. Arya felt pride for her children and gratitude toward the human who had guided them so carefully. The hidden classroom had become a place of joy, learning, and trust. Jake introduced a small challenge for the twins to test problem-solving and teamwork. He set up a simple maze with obstacles and rules. Leora and Kyle signed questions, eager to begin. They worked together, analyzing the maze and discussing strategies. Leora suggested careful steps while Kale tested bold moves. They learned from each other, adjusting their approach until they succeeded. Jake praised their effort, highlighting the importance of collaboration and thinking critically. The twins understood that solving problems required creativity, patience, and cooperation. The twins also learned about emotions through storytelling. Jake told a simple story of a human facing challenges and making decisions. Leora and Kale signed questions and reactions, discussing the characters' feelings and choices. Jake encouraged them to consider alternative actions and outcomes. The twins learned empathy, understanding that choices affect others. They practiced kindness, patience, and thoughtful communication. Jake smiled, proud of their ability to analyze, reflect, and apply lessons to real situations. One evening, Queen Arya decided to participate more actively. She asked Jake to teach her some of the signs and gestures he had used with the twins. Jake demonstrated patiently, showing her how to communicate ideas and emotions effectively. Arya learned quickly, enjoying the experience. She signed simple phrases and expressions, communicating with the twins. This shared learning strengthened the bond between mother, children, and teacher. Arya realized that Jake's guidance had transformed their communication and understanding. She appreciated his patience, dedication, and kindness. The twins continued exploring human culture. Jake introduced simple songs, rhythms, and artistic expressions. Leora and Kale enjoyed music, tapping, clapping, and signing along. They explored patterns, creating new rhythms and combining ideas. Jake encouraged creativity and imagination, praising their efforts. The twins laughed silently, enjoying the freedom to express themselves. Arya observed, impressed by their confidence and creativity. She saw how Jake had nurtured their talents and curiosity, helping them flourish emotionally and intellectually. Jake also taught the twins about teamwork in real-life situations. He set up small tasks that required planning, cooperation, and problem-solving. Leora and Kale communicated effectively, using signs and gestures to coordinate actions. They learned to listen, adapt, and support each other. Jake praised their collaboration, showing how working together led to success. The twins understood the value of partnership and communication, applying these lessons in all activities. Arya noticed the growth in their teamwork skills and felt satisfaction seeing their progress. Over the weeks, the twins became independent learners. Leora focused on storytelling, art, and observation. Kale excelled in problem-solving, experimentation, and strategy. Jake encouraged them to explore their interests while guiding them in areas where they needed improvement. The twins expressed ideas confidently, shared stories, and solved challenges without hesitation. Arya recognized the progress, noting how much Jake had influenced their development. Her respect and trust in him deepened, seeing the positive effect on her children's lives. Jake introduced a final exercise to strengthen critical thinking. He presented scenarios where the twins had to make choices and predict outcomes. Leora and Kale analyzed options, discussed possibilities, and decided on solutions. Jake guided them, asking questions and encouraging reflection. The twins demonstrated independence, creativity, and understanding. They had learned not only to communicate and solve problems, but also to think critically and consider consequences. Jake felt proud, knowing the lessons had prepared them for any challenge. The twins also shared what they had learned with Arya. Leora showed drawings and explained stories, while Kale demonstrated problem-solving techniques and strategies. Arya was impressed by their knowledge, confidence, and creativity. She realized that Jake's secret lessons had transformed the twins, giving them skills and understanding she could not have imagined. The children's growth was clear, and she felt grateful to Jake for his dedication and guidance. Jake reflected on his journey as a teacher. He had started as a janitor, quietly helping the twins in secret. Over time, he had become a mentor, guide, and friend. The twins had grown in language, communication, creativity, critical thinking, and confidence. They were ready to continue exploring, learning, and discovering on their own. Jake realized that teaching was more than sharing knowledge. It was about building connections, trust, and understanding across cultures and species. Queen Arya acknowledged Jake's efforts openly. She praised his patience, creativity, and dedication. The twins expressed gratitude silently, signing thank you and showing affection. Jake smiled, feeling fulfillment and pride. The hidden classroom, once a secret place, had become a shared space of learning, growth, and trust. The human and alien children, along with their mother, had formed a bond built on knowledge, respect, and curiosity. The lessons concluded with a special activity. Jake asked the twins to create a joint story reflecting their learning journey. Leora and Kale collaborated using drawings, signs, and gestures. They included elements from human culture, problem-solving, emotions, and imagination. Jake guided them, encouraging expression and creativity. Arya watched silently, moved by the children's storytelling and growth. She saw how much they had learned, how confident and imaginative they had become, and how Jake had played a crucial role in their development. Leora and Kale signed their final thoughts for the evening, expressing happiness, curiosity, and pride. Jake praised them, showing that their efforts and progress were recognized. Queen Arya signed simple phrases acknowledging the success of the lessons and the positive impact Jake had made. The twins and their mother had formed a strong bond with Jake, built on trust, understanding, and shared learning. The hidden classroom had become a symbol of hope, growth, and connection. As the lessons ended, Jake felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had guided Leora and Kale to independence, helping them communicate, think critically, and explore their creativity. Queen Arya had witnessed the positive impact of his efforts and had accepted him as a trusted mentor. The twins were confident, imaginative, and ready to continue learning. The secret lessons had grown into a shared journey of knowledge, friendship, and trust. Jake knew that the experience had changed all of them, creating lasting bonds that would endure.